Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guest today is Ajia Holiday, and this is what? Smart business moves.
Business moves. Our business moves. All right. Let's see. I need to
Doing
adjust.
this once a week, I can't even remember what we call the show. How about that? Liz?
I
I need,
really liked the week, Tom, when you forgot your name. That was
I
my
need, I need to talk to Victoria. I need cue cards. I need to have a teleprompter. Can we have that?
for your name, Tom.
I'll take it. What is it?
Don't worry, we'll get
Anchorman.
you a
You
name
know,
tag
if
that's
you put
written
it on the
backwards.
teleprompter, I'll read it.
Yeah. It's like it must have been a rough week already, Tom.
I've been working. You know, a
All
lot of
right.
motion, a lot of motion, a
Good.
little bit of movement, but definitely a lot of motion.
Okay. Well, better
Aja,
make
how the
more
heck are you
movement,
doing
but
today?
say it
I'm doing
again.
really well. Doing well. I'm keeping cool. It's been pretty toasty here in Colorado, so
What
doing
does
well.
toasty in Colorado feel like?
It's just dry and hot. I mean, it just feels like a desert, but
Is the temperature what 78 degrees? I mean, it's
it
sweltering.
hit like 96 today.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Hot.
Golly day.
it was pretty
That is hot.
toasty. We had a couple of 100-degree days in the last week, and that was my house. I was like, why is it so warm in here? The AC is blasting the whole day, and I was like just toasty all day. And then I looked at the temperature, and I was like, that makes sense. Now I know why it's so warm in
But you
here.
don't get, but you know, it gets hotter later and it gets colder sooner. You don't get many of those days. I mean, heck, you'll be shoveling snow in another month, right?
Next week.
Maybe. Usually July we'll get like about 50% above 90 at least,
Oh,
if not
wow.
more. And then August it starts to cool down a little bit. Last year we did have snow in. Did we have snow in September? Maybe it was the year before. The year that everything was on fire, we got snow at one point randomly, but it didn't help.
I feel like you guys do get snow a lot, like on
Last year,
days when it could not be snowy.
I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. It didn't snow until New Year's Eve. We
Oh,
didn't have
wow.
any snow until New Year's Eve. It was the first snow of the season, and it took forever. Normally, it happens in October, and it did not happen until New Year's Eve. So that was a weird one.
Wow. Well, we're just waiting to get our temperatures up like into the 80s. Come on now. We're almost there.
Are you kidding me? It's cool. It's like in the 70s.
No, I'm actually looking at my thing today. It's going to be 82. So, but
Oh,
yeah, it's been pretty much in the 70s.
that
Hmm,
sounds glorious.
I
okay.
know it has been. I am not complaining, not at all.
What you been up to, Liz?
Uh, I'm prepping for this event that is coming up next week. So I'm doing all that stuff. And I have so many appointments I have to move. That is so hard. When you're going out of town, then you have to move all your stuff around.
Hmm.
Dang. I've
Do
been working.
you maybe like plan far enough ahead so you don't schedule stuff
Yeah.
or
No, these are like ongoing things. Like with my circles, I'm in
perpetual
circles from
commitments?
8 to 1 every day.
Yeah,
So trying to move 8 to 1 every day for almost a week. That's a lot of moving.
That's a
and I
lot of
guess
moving.
why do today what you can do tomorrow? So we'll wait until the last
Yeah.
minute.
I just canceled all of my regularly scheduled programming for next week today, so I'm with you, Liz.
All right. Yeah, I don't feel so bad.
You're not
Yeah.
alone.
You know, and half the time I even forget to do that, and I just don't show up. I'm thinking, well, heck, they know what I'm doing this week. They don't really expect me.
My people still are like, so Liz, we thought you'd be here if you didn't tell us that you were going to be gone. I'm like, God, man, sorry.
Y'all don't be coming to Smart Business Moves next week because we're not going to be here.
Right. No,
Nope.
none of us going to be here. Yeah.
I especially just because I'm not here every week anyways, so.
Yeah. Well, what are we talking about today, y'all?
Production planning, some scheduling. We could talk about whatever, but we know that's where my heart and soul lies.
Well,
Yeah.
last week, just to make the obligatory close the loop, we were talking about the consumer price index, and it was like up to like 9.1, which is as high as it's been for 40 some odd years. that means prices for most things that people buy are going up in a meaningful way. The day after, the Department of Labor releases a number they call the producer price index, and kind of left you guys like with the cliffhanger. You had to come back, to see the next episode to see what the PPI number was, and that came out really hot too. It went up 1.1%. It's currently at 11.3, and that means manufacturers, the raw inputs that go in all of the stuff that make the consumer things that we buy, those rates are going up faster than what the consumer prices are. So, it's a complicated formula, but this is kind of a leading indicator that says that the rate of inflation might still be in an upward trend. Yay.
All right.
Just what we want to hear, right?
Here we go. So,
Not at all.
that kind of makes this whole thing of scheduling and production planning and running your business in an efficient way that much more important, because being profitable is going to be more challenging now than what it has been in the past, when prices, including the price of labor, was more stable.
For sure. Definitely.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's going to be awesome. And it's going to be useful. And it's very timely.
Well, and after our Smart Business Moves last week, I know a lot of people are feeling a little bit more hopeful. I think Chris Schwab gave us a lot of upside also. So it's not all just doom and gloom and, what's scary and how bad is it going to be. So I'm looking forward to what we can do instead of worrying about what we can't do, what's going to happen, how bad things are going to be. I'm going to let my cat in before she harasses us.
Very needy cat,
She is. Oh my gosh. She'll start screaming at the door. Yeah.
Oh,
really
I
bad.
think, I think the whole point here is you just have to plan, and you have to be if and you have to be willing to change. And if you do that, this has the opportunity to even get better outcomes than what you would if prices were more stable.
Yeah.
So, Ajia, teeing it up for you here. What do we want to talk about? Scheduling or production planning? I would think production planning is kind of where it all starts, right?
Yeah, definitely. Starting with some production planning. I mean, there's a lot of different elements of cleaning services that really affect your production planning, and being aware of what is your maximum, what's your minimum, and staying on top of what your capacity is helps a ton. And knowing when you can pull things forward or if you need to push things back, but also understanding that when a day passes, you don't get that back, right? If you pass a day that has space on it, you can't go back and get that space back. So paying attention to if something's canceling, paying attention to who your top performers are, and are they full, to keep them really happy. There's a lot of different elements of staying on top of your production planning, and it's not all just how many technicians do I have and how many hours can I do, but are my drives super accurate? That gets to the scheduling side of things. And also, how's our permanent schedule looking? There's lots of different parts of your production and your schedule that go together to make the most effective turn on the amount of time that you have available. So there's a couple of different pieces there.
Where do people start? Yeah, where do people start, Ajia?
I would start on...
Sorry, Tom.
No, the analogy of the day-to-day thing, that's important, though. I mean, this is... when you said that, I kind of, it's like, okay, it's like I'm running a restaurant, or like I have a grocery store or something, and a fruit stand. And, you don't want to have stuff rotting and having to throw it away, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you've got unused capacity or stuff, that's kind of like throwing
rotten fruit.
Right. So you might discount it. You might run some specials. A lot of things, you can do just to make sure that you're not, you can take that chicken that you're gonna have to throw away and maybe rotisserie grill it, and then sell it. I mean, and in your cleaning businesses, I mean, so maybe these analogies are a little bit silly, but from a production planning standpoint, there's a lot of things that we can do to make sure that we aren't throwing labor away.
Yeah, and I actually would start by looking both in the most recent history and in your upcoming future. So looking into your last week, maybe even last 2 weeks, and seeing if there was any time left on the table and where did that time come from. That helps to understand what are some habits that might be happening currently with your schedule. Are you having a lot of last minute cancellations? Are you not scheduling enough to begin with? That kind of helps to know where you need to focus your attention for the future. So if you're looking into the future and you're seeing that you have what look like full days, but you had, $600 left on the table last week or $1,000 left on the table last week because there was empty holes. How did those holes happen, and how do you make sure that you are able to fill those holes coming up as well? So I would start looking at both of those, both the past and the upcoming future, to see if you have a current trend that you're working with, and to help get rid of your rotten fruit. Tom mentioned some really great options in last minute fills, especially flash sales, just emailing your whole list for, really discounted hours available. Hey, Denise, how are ya? So there's lots of ways to fill those things. You can email your entire mailing list, a discount code for your upcoming availability, or you can keep a couple of people on hand. I think that's one of my favorite ways to do that, is to have well-known customers that are really flexible and are happy to fill in space for you at a discount, or move their clean earlier, or things like that. Keeping a list of your flexible clients, whether it's using tags if your system has them, or something like that, to know if you can pull people forward, because it's another option as well, is that you don't have to necessarily find new people. You can have people that maybe wanted to clean earlier fill in that space as well. So
I know a strategy that a couple people that are in our circles use that I think is so smart is they have a list of things that the customers want to have added onto their service. And then they tell them that when we get availability, we'll add it on. We can either schedule you now at full price, or we can put you on our list. And as soon as we get availability, we'll give it to you at a discount, and we'll just slot you in there. And I think that's a really smart way of doing it. So you always have this list of things to pull from, and a group of people that you can go ahead and do this thing for. So it might not be available every single day, but getting a good solid list is like having a strong bench, right? For extra stuff.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a good idea for sure. And those aren't huge jobs either. If they're just add-ons, at least you're able to fill in the time, but you're not trying to find a space for a 10-hour job when you only have 3 hours available or something like that. I think that's a really good way of limiting that.
So, I guess really when you kind of get to day of or day before, there's always adjustments, or usually, there's adjustments. You've got, cleaning technicians that have unplanned, emergencies. You've got, customers at last minute, make changes. I guess that's kind of a blur. You could argue that maybe that's even more scheduling than it is production planning, but in the bigger sense, production planning, aren't you really looking at, what is my labor, how much labor do I have? What capacity do I have to, in terms of labor hours or revenue? And, do I need to be marketing more? Do I need to be recruiting more? It's not one thing we say it a lot. Yeah. You always have too much of something and not enough of something else. Too many customers and not
equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that also comes into play where you're trying to normalize the schedule. So you don't have these days where you're bringing in a ton of money, and then the next day you've got nothing, and then again the next day, or sometimes by week, right? Your third week of the month is always really, really low or really, really high. Either one of those can cause trouble. So
There's
So
a
when you
lot
say
of
third week,
balancing acts.
when you say third week of the month, I would presume you're talking about the third week in your 4-week rotation.
yeah,
Do you
absolutely.
think everybody understands what we're talking about when we say that?
No, I don't. I think that most people do, because anybody that's been doing scheduling for even a short amount of time understands that a month in our speak is 4 weeks. We can't have, it's hard to do anything else. You don't typically do in the service world, you don't do like the third Thursday of the month or anything like that, because then you'd be constantly changing your rotation and you'd be out with different jobs, etc.
So you've got 13 planning periods, and it goes week 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I get my home cleaned every other week, I'm either getting it cleaned on even weeks or odd weeks. If I'm a monthly, that means I go like on week 4 or week 3 or whatever. I'm always on that same week, unless I make a schedule change in mode,
Right.
which makes us.
If you're monthly, you're every 4 weeks. You're not, so you're going to get your home cleaned 13 times in a year. You're not getting your home cleaned 12 times in a year, unless you skip something.
Mm-hmm. At least 1 month is gonna have 2 cleans.
Yeah, yeah. And some years there are 2, depending on the day, right? Not years. Some days you're going to have 2 of those, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So very common to have 14 cleans in a year.
So what?
There's a lot of balancing there. I actually used to look at our week rotations just to see those weeks. Like, oh, our week 2 is significantly higher than all of our other weeks. How can we balance that out a little bit? That was something I used to look at a lot. And sometimes it made sense. If you have part-timers, you might have, well, maybe not. They're not necessarily off for like a week or something like that, but days, trying to keep the day even too, that you're not having one day that only has 75% of what the other 4 days of the week have. Because then, you're just trying to schedule everybody on Wednesdays. And I don't know about your guys' area, but Wednesdays around here are the days that everybody cancels. We call them like the Wednesday people. They're the ones that are just really flaky. They don't care.
All right, so here's another thing that I've been seeing a lot, noticing a lot. What we see is people at the beginning of the year, they had, just as an example, they had 10 employees and they were doing X amount of dollars. And then here we are, maybe 5 months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, and you have 10 employees, but you're doing a much larger amount of money. And sometimes that's because of a price increase, but sometimes that's because you were in a crunch situation and your people have had to produce more work, and now they can. So that's an interesting little piece that I've been seeing a lot of lately. Oh, let's see. I feel have higher. Hey, Rochelle, cute picture. All the things that.
So what are we hypothesizing here? Monthly clients are more demanding, higher expectations.
I think a little bit.
And you have to give them more time, because they can't really have you rotating their baseboards. They're not going to get their baseboards done them like once every 4 months or 5, 6 months. So I think it's realistic that they are wanting more done on that monthly, if they're on that monthly rotation. But that's why we charge more. I mean, I don't really know any companies that charge the same amount for monthly as they do for a bi-weekly.
Right. And Rochelle's suggesting that you don't want a monthly with 20 cats.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
I also think it just makes it that much more obvious when you don't do something if they're a monthly client. So like, if you don't do an area, once you hit that 2-month mark, oh my gosh, like it's like it hasn't even been cleaned really before. Like the amount of buildup that happens in a 2-month period is significant. And so I think it makes it like, if you're not doing everything every month, then it is a lot more obvious, and it probably feels a lot dirtier because they are monthly. But man, I don't think I know anybody who's like, oh yeah, monthly clients are my favorite.
No,
Nobody's favorite. We take them because
nobody.
it's expected. But man, I just try to price them out.
So, I mean, I guess for another day, there's a whole methodology. I mean, it's been a while, but Carrie Knight has been on our show before, and she's got strategies to take monthlies and to turn them into bi-weeklies and weeklies, and
mostly bi-weeklies. That's her big push.
Yeah.
I think Tina Service has some strategies around that too that she shared with us.
She does.
Yeah. So, from a production planning standpoint, we want to balance the workload.
On monthlies, I have something else for monthlies. I'm being able to use them for production planning. It's not my favorite way to do it, but it is a way to kind of use your monthlies as your fillers, because they are less expected on when they're getting cleaned, because they're like, well, I'm only getting cleaned every 4 weeks anyways. So they're usually a bit more flexible with being able to change their dates and helping with your production planning too, and also balancing your weeks, because your monthlies are the reason that you would have the only reason that you'd have 1 week that's out of balance is because of your monthlies. So they have their values. So it can help with your production planning too.
And I guess that's really part of the sales process. We can certainly put you on a 4-week rotation, but the consistency is not going to be the same as what you would expect if you were every 2 weeks. You might not be getting the same cleaner every visit. We might have to move you a day here or there to balance it out. But we certainly appreciate from a monthly investment standpoint, it can be more economical, and we'll work with you. So,
and that's part of what you're paying for. That's part of what that discount is all about.
How do we balance our schedule? Make sure we don't have too much work on one day or the next, or too many labor hours on the even weeks as opposed to the odd weeks. I know that you've got some tricks up your sleeve in terms of ways of managing that, Ajia. Is there anything you want to share with us?
I mean, that really comes down to whatever your relationship is between your sales process and your recurring or your scheduler process. I think about the schedule as 2 different types of schedule, an active schedule and our permanent schedule. And everybody is able to schedule on either of those, but you have to understand that the permanent schedule takes priority. And understanding how that permanent schedule is balanced has to be like both the scheduler, main scheduler, and your salesperson, if they're doing permanent schedules, need to know how to look at that. In MaidCentral, we use the master schedule. That's what I was using previously, as well as just being able to pay attention to the different rotations. But you can also do this just by looking at projections on a week-by-week basis. And whoever's viewing your scheduling has to know that sometimes you might want to push your one time to the heavier week and try and push those recurring people to the lighter week, just to prepare. That's a little redundant. Prepare for to try and balance.
Well, I don't know. Too often we find ourselves post-preparing.
Yeah, so pre-preparing.
Way too often, Tom. Way too often. Yeah, good point.
What's another way of saying reacting?
Yeah. So the master schedule, based on what you're saying right now, Ajia, the master schedule and the permanent schedule are the same thing.
Yes.
All right. Yes. So for people that are using,
so you've just introduced a concept, Liz, master schedule.
And so the reason I'm bringing it up is because anybody that's on here that is using MaidCentral, and we do have a lot of people that use MaidCentral, in our circles as well, they might think that you're talking about something different with the permanent schedule. But I just want to make sure that it's clear that the master schedule is your permanent schedule. That's the way that you set everything kind of in stone, and that's not what you're changing on the day-to-day basis. Right?
So, that's the basis of your every week, every 2 week, and every 4 week rotations, what day they're regularly scheduled on, and what team and time they're regularly scheduled on. That changes on the active schedule based off of what's actually available, what resources are available, what times are available, resources in terms of time and team, I guess, that those can adjust. just because that's what's available on that day. So your active schedule can be adjusted with one-time jobs, move out. That's where you can kind of fill in some of that additional availability that your permanent schedule doesn't fill. And to help balance something, if you do have an out of balance on your schedule where your, even weeks are significantly heavier than your odd weeks, then you can work to only schedule one-times and move outs and anything that's part of your active schedule on your even weeks, and working to schedule new permanent schedules, new recurring schedules on your odd weeks. And that will help you balance things out without having to move clients that you already have existing on your schedule. So that's how I would try to do that, at least in the preparation side of it, of being proactively getting your schedule to be equal again. Or if you're doing it in response, then you would be contacting your clients and having them move rotations.
That's Tom's post preparation.
Yeah, that's the post prepare.
But for anybody that isn't using the master schedule, regardless of what system you're on, master permanent schedule, highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I'm going to go back to a previous Smart Business Moves that we had, where Joe Walsh was on. You remember that, Tom? We had Joe on, and he made such an impact on a lot of our viewers around the idea that one of the most important things for the satisfaction and joy and ultimate delight of your clients is keeping the same team on the same schedule as a priority. But that is really hard to do. Like I'm not going to say impossible, but so extremely difficult if you're not keeping a master schedule. Everything has to be in your memory then. You're relying on memory too much.
Yeah, it was a metric, I guess, that's been coined consistency. And we're actually are building a report and a mechanism to measure that. It's going to be awesome.
Nice.
Doing a presentation at convention about that and how it works and how to measure it. And I mean, Joe's been talking about consistency for a long time.
Yes, very long time.
And also on your cleaning professional side, they're much happier with their job and
they make more money most of the time. Not always, most of the time.
But it's more money and it's more enjoyable. It's less stressful.
It's easier. Yes. The whole thing is just a better experience for everyone. So I love it. So our big 3 things then, now that we have, our productivity, efficiency, and consistency.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. I'm loving that.
It's gonna be good. I actually talked with Joe when I was working to switch to solos. He took time out of his day to make a couple of phone calls with me and let me pick his brain on how he switched to solos at his size, and how we could do that too. And we talked so much about that consistency concept, and it's been something I got to watch it in action, and it's true. The biggest thing was probably our turnover dropped. Being able to have the same technicians going to the same houses, they were so much happier. They were able to perform so much better and be so much faster. And then their clients were happier. They got more tips. It was such a nice thing. And it is easier with solos for sure to be able to do that for them. But it was just that is such a huge deal on also being able to predict a little bit more on what your team is capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I really believe that. Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. That has never been a debate about whether or not the clients prefer consistency or not, even when they're not in the home, even when before COVID and everybody worked outside of the home, your clients still wanted that consistency, and for so many obvious reasons. But my point that I really wanted to make was that master schedule, how much easier that makes it. Right? And regardless of how you do it, I don't care what program you're using, setting that master schedule, that permanent schedule that shows who's on these jobs all the time, and then only moving them off when absolutely necessary. Without the master schedule, you're moving people, floating people around all the time, especially in a larger company. A smaller company, you have a lot of that in your head, right? Scheduling persons, keeping tracks like, oh no. And they'll be able to keep things like, oh no, I know that I already moved her one time. I skipped her. I changed her day. But at some point in time, you can't keep that in your mind anymore. And you might as well start when you're small. Start when you're smaller and put that master schedule in place so that as you grow, you're going to be able to scale much, much easier.
Oh,
There's a couple of different options. I was thinking about how I would do a master schedule if I didn't have MaidCentral capability. And originally I did it in an Excel spreadsheet where I was just having, each block for each team. But I've been thinking about ideas of how to do that as well for using like just a Google calendar, and having each team be their own calendar. And you can even have a calendar for available openings and having those labeled so that if you're looking for just availability, you can just look at that one team, that one schedule.
That one calendar.
So that would be that. I mean, just ideas for people that aren't using what is in MaidCentral as the master schedule. There's a couple of different options out there if you need to get it out of your head and have other people be in charge of that.
And even if you think you don't need to get out of your head, I'm pushing. Yes.
Get out of your head.
Regardless of how you do it. I love the Google Calendar option. Right? Everybody's already using Google Calendar. How easy is that? Great idea.
so you would have one workbook and a tab for each day of the work week?
In Excel, yes. For an Excel or a Google Sheet or something like that, I would have it as one tab for each day of the week, and then a box for each team's availability or what they have scheduled.
Which would really be like 4 rows where you would have
4 columns and probably 4 to 5 rows per team, depending on how big of houses. If you're using teams or solos, 2 to 3 if you're using solos, and 4 to 5 if you're using teams.
We could build one right now if we wanted to.
Yeah.
We already have them built. We don't need to. And we have shown this before. But I think that, Ajia, your idea about the Google Calendar, that's a new idea. That's something we haven't floated before, right? We haven't shown that. So I think that could easily work as well. A calendar for each team. And so also having that calendar that is just openings, how nice is that? Because that's one of the big struggles, is trying to find that recurring opening, right?
And in as few clicks as possible is always my goal, is that as few clicks as possible, be able to see what your openings are for a permanent recurring person or client. Nice. Because that's what everybody's priority is. I'm using my eyeliner as a baton right now. But that's the biggest priority, is that you want to be able to do this in one call. You want to be able to get people on your schedule in as few conversations
all about our stuff. Mine's not eyeliner though. Yeah.
It's actually my eyebrow pencils.
Mine might be. You never know.
Yours is too fat. Yours looks like a remarkable stylist, the same as mine.
You guys, well, I can't be fancy with you guys.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that would, as few steps as possible, so that even if you have, 10 teams or 10 solos, instead of having to look through all 10 of those to find openings, you would just have your one opening schedule. And if you give that away, you would be able to reassign that block to the team.
Super nice.
And just have that labeled there. So that would be my current workaround if I didn't want to build a Excel spreadsheet again.
Yeah, because the Excel spreadsheet was beautiful and nice, but a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
A lot of work. Yeah. So, check it out, Denise. I'll bet you can do something. This idea is pretty.
What is TCF?
The customer factor?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Robin says that you're a wizard there, Ajia. Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on Harry Potter. I'm glad to be a wizard in some way.
I love Harry Potter too. All right. So we're thinking about we got to normalize our schedules. We've got to keep that consistency, right? Mm-hmm. Really, we want to be normalizing by day, and we want to be normalizing by week. All right. So that's first place. Start there. figure out, and then next thing, it sounds like really need to have a clear understanding where your openings are, so that on the recurring basis, so that you can book into them.
And when you say normalizing, I'm assuming you're like leveling, you're balancing the
Leveling.
workflow.
Balancing. That's a much better word for what I'm
You're reaching out to
Yep.
certain customers and saying, hey, Mrs. Jones, would you mind if we moved your, every 4-week cleaning from Wednesday to Tuesday? But every once in a while, we might wind up doing you on Thursday, but and having those discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was definitely starting there, and then probably getting an understanding of what's to be expected from your schedule. What is your absentee rate? What is your skip rate? A couple of measurements that you should be aware of as being your averages within your company to know what your actual production levels are. If you're planning for a 4% absentee rate and you don't have 4% extra staff, then your revenue production, your planning availability is also 4% reduced. So to be able to prepare for that kind of stuff and understand how those work together, that's another big thing too. Know what's consistent for your company, so that you're not overbooking or underbooking yourself consistently based off of skips or absentee rates.
Sounds like another spreadsheet.
Well, and another really important piece about this is that depending on who is doing your scheduling, if you don't have that number dialed in, your scheduling person will underbook your day. They'll underbook your schedule. They're scared because they're afraid, and they don't want to have to be dealing with the morning of chaos. Yeah.
It's less stress. It's easier. I'm not going to have as much stuff to deal with if I'm scheduling light.
Yeah. And is that your goal? Do you want your scheduling person scheduling light? No, we want them scheduling as heavy as possible and making it work, right? Finding a way. But you're setting up a bad situation if you don't know what you can actually really, really do.
So that kind of gets back into the KPIs though, because if you're measuring properly, you can point out that we had this much rotten produce today. We had to throw away some bananas and lettuce. So
I like that analogy, Tom. I'm just hoping that nobody's wondering if you're trying to call some of our employees rotten
potatoes. Yeah. Or if they join, just join, probably wondering what in the world are we talking about.
Oh, we all own produce stands now, just in case you fish out. No more cleaning services. We all just own produce stands, and we got to find a way to get rid of our rotten produce before it's rotten. Anyways, I think that those all relate for sure. If you don't have an accurate understanding of absentee and skip, how many are you having each day of both of those, your scheduler isn't able to prepare either way. Either prepare for overbooking because of absentee rate or underbooking because of skip rate. How do those balance together? And what, if you have more skips than you do absentee, then you still want to overbook just a little bit based off of your absentee rate. So knowing what the baseline is, in addition to just what technicians are available.
Yeah. And it is also really nice to have some floaters on your schedule somewhere, some people that you can use as floaters in case you get into a little bit of a bind, so that your scheduling person doesn't get zapped. Because if your scheduling person gets zapped enough times, they're like, don't know what to do. Doesn't really matter. They're going to persistently and consistently underbook, undersell. Especially.
And I was that person for a time. I got some serious PTSD from a couple of overbook periods that I had to learn how to really understand what our schedule was capable of, so I didn't fall back into that. But it was probably one of my biggest fears as a scheduler, and something that I worked really hard not to pass on to the next scheduler was like, overbook it. You overbook it. You can always move them off of it. And I'm in the background being like, I can't believe I said that out loud, but like I understood the idea of that, but I had gotten zapped so many times that even though I knew that was the right thing to do, it was so hard for me to do personally. And I was able to teach it to somebody else because I knew that it was the right thing to do. But it is easy to get like terrified of that feeling of just like first thing in the morning overwhelmed. So those are some tools to really help you prepare for that and make sure that that's not happening, every single day.
It's interesting though, because large organizations, publicly traded companies, very successful and profitable and so forth, airlines they certainly overbook, right? And they know they're going to have a certain number of cancellations, blah 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 blah. But they're playing the averages, and they know there's going to be a certain percentage of the time that they're going to have to,
offer the deal.
Yeah. Now more so, I think their models are a little off, though. I guess some things have changed, and they're doing that a lot more. I guess too many canceled flights. The system's broken at the moment, but they get it figured out.
But that's been going on.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? They have been doing that since long before COVID, since long before any of this stuff happened. And it worked really, really well for a really, really long time. Yes, things are different now. And we all have to figure out how to work within the new realm. And they do too. So I don't think it's shocking or surprising at all that they're struggling a little bit. They're still trying to do the same old thing that they've always done. And times are different. You would call it unprecedented times, I think, Tom.
But you call it, in the context of house cleaning, we call it getting zapped. And the context of bigger businesses, they're just doing business. That's part of it. And it's not a, it's not a fail. It's not, a lot of drama. It's
SOP.
They know a certain percentage of the time, this is going to be the drill.
Yeah. And really, that seems to be such a smarter way to do it, even for small businesses. Listen, SOP is we always overbook. And on the morning of, this is how it looks. This is how we manage that. Not, oh my gosh, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be terrible. No, this is how we do that. This is how we deal with it on the morning of. And having better systems in place for managing that. So it seems more part of the norm. It just makes more sense.
And it helps keep you from leaving, empty produce on the stand, from leaving those, like, you can never get that revenue back. Once that day has passed, you can never get those hours back. And if you do have to move 1 to 2 jobs off of that day, you are getting that maximum revenue out of that day. You literally squeezed out the absolute maximum out of that day. And it does. It works. It still works. And no matter what size you are, it still works to do it that way. And be able to walk that line. And
if we've done, discussions on, break-even point before, and most of the homes you're cleaning in a day, the revenue off of those homes is going to cover your variable cost, cover your fixed operating cost. And it's really those last few homes that you're cleaning that really represents any profit you can hope to make. So, okay, maybe I'm cleaning 50 homes today and 2 of them cancel. Well, it's okay, I'm still cleaning 48. But, if you're working with a 10% profit margin, then, that's 40% of your profit you just lost by not cleaning those 2 homes.
That's a really good point, for sure.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of getting out of bed and cleaning any homes at all.
And I think that's where the KPIs really come in handy, because there's a disconnect between the information that the owner has. The owner knows about break even, that the owner understands it, but without that tracking, without the person that's doing the scheduling, seeing it, understanding it on a regular basis, viscerally understanding it, they're still going to underschedule. They're still going to schedule light, because even though, I hear what you're saying, but I don't want the chaos in my life. So even the education about why and the amount of money, that's your problem. As the owner of the company, that part's your problem. I'm just worrying about my problem. I don't want to have a bad morning, right? So as I think especially now we are seeing even more of that where people are not really happy to put themselves on the line for the owner to be making more money without really good understanding. With good deep understanding, adding in a little matter, meaning, measure, and autonomy. I know I haven't hit on that in a while, but so that that employee feels like this is also my company, right? This is my company too. So I'm trying to fix these problems as well. Without that, they're going to continue to undersell. One way that I know some companies deal with that is the scheduler doesn't sell, right? They don't handle sales. But when you're a smaller company, that's usually not an option, right? You're handling all of that. You're wearing all the hats.
So many hats on one face, one head.
And the truth is, many CBOs are having the same issue. They also are like, yeah, I know that I need to book it tight because otherwise I'm losing my profit, but it's not worth it to me. Like, I don't want the hassle. Mornings are so chaotic. So back to the master schedule, y'all.
Back to the master schedule. Back to the
master schedule helps a lot of that.
Pre-planning is a lot better than post-planning.
So much better. So much better.
Pre-prepare. I mean, it also goes into like, what are the expectations of your technicians? What are their hours expectations? And what else? What are they? What is their efficiency? How productive are they? There's lots of different ways to measure this. That is, sure, if you don't want to have that level of work on each technician or each team, then you have a staffing constraint on your production, and that needs to be addressed as well. And it might be a matter of having, extra staff so that you don't have to worry about that, but still make your break even. That's okay. You can make that decision. If you still really want to make that profit mark without having to do all of the morning stuff, that's a possibility too. You can do that. There are decisions to make that happen, but it will also help you feel safer to be able to make that happen in the future. Get yourself into a place of being like, oh, this isn't so bad. Convince yourself that it's a good thing without throwing yourself into the fire.
Well, I'm also going to say that takes us back to data, right? You have to have the data. You have to be able to know what those numbers are so that you can make those decisions. Otherwise, you're flying blind. Sometimes you're getting lucky and sometimes you're not. And the data keeps it so that you're always on the lucky side. Right? You can make those smarter decisions. And then even if you make the decision, no, Mondays or maybe not Mondays, Fridays are always chaotic. And no, I don't want to have a chaotic Friday. I'm always booking them light. All right, then you know what's going to happen. You know that you're losing money because you have the data to see. Maybe that's a trade-off for you. And I know for a lot of people, it is a trade-off. Fine. But you got to have the data.
Especially important given with what's happening with wages and inflation and all of the changes, that you can be sending out the same number of teams and cleaning the same number of homes and find out that your break even number is changing week after week.
With gas changing, with the price of our supplies changing, equipment. And a lot of times those numbers are changing such a small amount, you think it's not going to impact. I was actually talking to somebody just a couple of weeks ago. Barkeeper's Friend has gone up in their area, but only by 12 cents. What the heck? How much Barkeeper's Friend do you guys use? Right? Most companies are using a lot of Barkeeper's Friend. 12 cents? Well, let's multiply that number out. That's losing some money right there. You've gotta manage that. 12 cents is a lot, but it can easily seem like 12 cents. Oh, I just dig in my purse for that 12 cents. No, that's how it works.
You're already doing that, by the way. You're already digging in your purse.
Thank you.
We're kind of snuggling up to the top of the hour here. We got a few minutes.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears for a minute. Ajia, you're going to be going to Chicago for the RC convention this year, aren't you?
I am. Very
What you
excited.
going to be doing in Chicago?
Did you ask what am I going to be doing in Chicago?
What are you going to be doing in Chicago in October?
Just tooling around. No, I'm going to convention for the first time, but I'll also be speaking at convention, and I am so excited. so excited.
Well, what's your topic? What's your title? Tell us.
My topic is about data, as we've been talking about it, but essentially how to use your KPIs and leverage those to maximize your profits, and understanding how to really delve into your data in a meaningful way, that they're not just numbers, that they are also ways to influence your actions as well.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Very excited.
Do you know when you're speaking?
Monday.
Oh, everybody come in on time.
Yeah, I'll be on the first day. I'm on the first day. Don't remember the exact time off the top of my head. I have it somewhere, but yeah, I'll be on Monday, and I'm very excited. It'll be my first time going.
Yay! Well, and actually, I said come in on time. I'm gonna modify that and tell everybody come in early, because Sunday we're having a like a roadshow event at Gosha's new office.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
So and that's happening on Sunday. If you come in too late, you're going to miss that. I think it's at 2:00. Is that right, Tom?
It's going to be the afternoon. It's going to be just for several hours that Sunday afternoon.
I think it's 2 to 6 on Sunday.
Liz is going to be speaking. I'm going to be speaking. Ajia, come on out early. You could be speaking. I mean, it's going to be cool.
RJ is going to be there. Gosha's obviously going to be there. Yeah. So
I would just be really excited to see her office. I know that she's got some cool things there.
He's so excited. It's not even up yet. It's not even up. Yeah. So excited. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. She's got so many great ideas that I saw the blueprint, I think last month, and it looks amazing. I can't wait.
That's exciting.
Yeah. All right. So Tom, what are you speaking about at convention?
I'm going to be I'm going to be talking about consistency, and we're going to be demonstrating, how we, can measure consistency in our cleaning businesses, and the benefit and value that can be created by doing that. We touched upon that earlier in terms of, happier technicians, lower technician turnover, happier customers, more lifetime value from your customers. So this whole idea of squeezing every dollar out of the schedule, if you're taking people off their normal homes in order to do that, I mean, it's kind of the calculus that you have to do. And sometimes in the long run, you're going to be better off, throwing out a couple tomatoes if you have to, in order to, maintain the consistency.
So I do think that the convention is going to be focusing a lot this year on so not necessarily recession proofing our businesses, but creating different things within our businesses that can help us to manage the recession, so that we can, come through it hopefully better off than we started. There are many companies that went through the 2008 problem and grew and had better times. Also,
the opportunity to come out better is definitely there. It's a matter of having a plan, and it's a matter of execution. Because
it's going to be fun this year because of that.
You just want to be you want to be on the successful side of the equation. And if you are, you will be more successful than you would have been otherwise.
And so there's going to be some new ways of looking at things this year because of that. People are looking from a new direction of how important it is to really optimize so much of what we do. Where in the past it was just sort of like, just go out there and clean some stuff. That's good enough.
Do it.
Yeah. Right. And Tom, I can remember you and I even telling people, just go clean some stuff. You're killing me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just start cleaning. right? And now we're going to be talking, everybody's going to be talking about a lot more than just cleaning stuff. It's going to be more about how to be much more professional and to actually be growing these businesses in much larger, better, stronger ways. So,
And that's where it's going. You know, you're going to be seeing that in the months and in years ahead. The discussion is going to be shifting. It's, you know, it's a long time ago we talked about, who makes the best vacuum cleaner, and then it was like sales and conversion rates and stuff like that, and all of that's important, but more and more the discussion is going to be on optimization. How do I really price for profit, and how do I manage my schedule and get the best return off of my workforce? And you know that's a more complicated exercise, but the benefits in terms of actually being profitable, that's where the money is made.
Also, really, taking harder looks at pricing and how people are pricing their jobs, and that what you already have on the table is your most valuable resource, and how do you optimize that and maximize what you already have on your schedule and on your table. That it's not necessarily always looking outwards, it might be looking into what you already have capable. And I think that's going to be a big part of starting with a really strong base before you reaching out into all these new things. But that, I think that's going to have a really big part of that conversation of what we're going into right now.
Yeah, agreed. I totally agree.
So I guess more immediately, we talked at the beginning of the show that we're not going to be here next week. We're going to be doing some live events in Charleston. Beginning of next week, I guess there's a 2-day event, Tuesday and Wednesday. It's what we call MaidCentral Academy Live. It's a workshop for MaidCentral partners where we show them basically what we call core KPIs out of MaidCentral, and kind of how they stack up against the entire MaidCentral community, and show them how to use MaidCentral to drive those numbers in a direction to get more predictable outcomes. And Liz, you're going to be doing a program on Thursday and Friday of next week?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, directly following your event. The employee lifecycle event. So we'll be talking about the different things that you need to do at each stage of the employee lifecycle so that you can keep your employees throughout this entire time period with an average retention. The goal is an average retention of 3 years. So if that sounds like something that you're really would love to have, then you might want to consider that event. Now, I know it's really late, but we are doing a live streaming event, and the live streaming is amazing, y'all. If you have never done live streaming, or if you have and hadn't had a good experience, our live streaming is amazing. You feel like you're in the room, you're on a big, huge monitor, and you're brought into the discussion and conversation in exactly the same way as everyone else is. And our event is actually a workshop. It's not education and training. It's not just education and training. It's you putting stuff in place so that you go home with your new plan. So I'm excited about it.
So, and if you're interested, I guess the live stream, you can sign up whenever.
Yeah.
Still have any spots left if anybody wants to actually come to Charleston?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, people can come live. We always have room. It's your office time. It's a big office. We can put lots of people.
We'll squeeze you in. You in. So is this where we would sign up?
Yep. That's
okay.
It.
I'll drop that link in chat.
Hey Pam, you're live streaming. Okay. Yeah. We have quite a few people live streaming this time. We're looking forward to that. Oh, you saw it done in Vegas. Pam was at our event live in Vegas, and she saw the live stream, how well it worked. So I'm excited.
Well, we are at the top of the hour. We're going to be working next week, so we're not going to be here, but we'll be back the week after that. Well, we'll be in August at that point, right?
Sure will.
Doggone.
Yeah.
Crazy.
August 3rd.
Where is the year going?
August 3rd. Same place it always goes, Tom.
Okay.
Do the pass.
In the bath. Oh, look, Tom froze so cutely. Look at how cute that is. All right.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. I don't think Tom can stop us.
I'm trying.
Are you efforting, Tom?
I'm efforting. I don't know what happened there because my screen just